the most dangerous team in the Western Conference. I don't know if you've noticed, but the Clippers have moved their way up in the standing. The Clippers are currently 5th in the Western Conference thanks in large part to this man, Norman Powell. Norman Powell has been having an all-star caliber season, and if he does not make the all-star team, that is such a crime. Remember, Kawhi just came back. Him and James Harden have been carrying the scoring load, and Norman Powell has been doing it at an all-star level. Every night, he's efficient. He's scoring over 20 points per game, even with Kawhi back as well. But again, Kawhi is back, so the team is fully healthy. James Harden will probably and should be an all-star again this year as well. He not only is scoring, a decent amount, but he is assisting like crazy. And his connection with Zubac is insane. By the way, Zubac as well is having a really, really good season. Every night, it seems like he's grabbing 16, 17, 18 rebounds. I think the last game he had like 20 points and 19 rebounds. And we knew Ty Lue was a good coach. And so one of the things I said in my, season predictions is that I know Ty Lue will get the best out of the team. I just was unsure with the absence or loss rather of Paul George and then Kawhi being out until, now. I wasn't sure how far up in the standings they would be just because the West is loaded. So I was wrong. I thought they were still super talented, of course. Like I said, Norman Powell, underrated. They still have James Harden. Terrence Mann, I think he's an underrated player. And Zubac, of course, is having a great season. But again, just because the West is so loaded, we see it's really tough. Like one win and one loss can drop you like 6 places. So I'll admit I was wrong. I did not expect them to be in 5th place. Well, now Kawhi's back, but basically 5th place without Kawhi. And they are playing some of the best basketball in the NBA. It's just that, again, everyone's talking about OKC and the Cavs, rightfully so, because they are having incredible seasons. But this team is low-key, high-key, having a great season offensively and defensively. If you look at the stats, you'll see, yeah, they're not like, I don't even think they're top 10 in offense, honestly. So if you look at the statistics, you'd probably say, well, they're really not a top tier team. And those stats obviously do tell a story, and they are definitely useful and showcase the teams that are top in the league in those categories, and it definitely does mean something. But I do think this is one team where the stats do not tell the story, because they're clearly winning all these games despite the fact that they are not a top 10 offense. When I say top 10 offense, I mean they're not top 10 in points per game and stuff like that. But yet they're still winning all these games. They're getting it done, they're closing it out because they are efficient and they make their shots when it counts. They just know how to go on these little runs. Like, again, back to Norman Powell, underrated player. He will go on his own 15-0 run in the 4th quarter and just close it out for the Clippers, even if they are behind in the game. He is a closer for them. James Harden is a closer for them. Kawhi, we obviously know, can be a closer. So, they have 3 players on that team who can and will make clutch baskets. And that is the difference between them and some other teams, because while some other teams may have more scoring power in general, when it comes down to the clutch moments, we know those 3 players will show up. Now, I understand in the playoffs, I know someone's going to say James Harden doesn't show up in the playoffs in the clutch moments. And so we will see how he performs in this playoffs. But for the regular season, right now, we know they have 3 of the best closers in the NBA. And even if you don't believe that James Harden will close it out in the playoffs, you know Kawhi can and will, and you know Norman Powell will. So even if they lose one closer, they still have 2 others. And Ty Lue is just such a smart coach. Again, I know we don't like to give coaches a lot of credit, and obviously the players are out there on the court doing, a lot of the work. But Ty Lue is one of the best coaches, and part of the reason that they play so well is Ty Lue coaches them up. Am I in the huddle? Am I in the locker room? Obviously not. So can I guarantee that Ty Lue is this great coach that we all think he is? Obviously not, but I'm pretty sure the Clippers did not extend him if he was not. And if everybody else wasn't trying to get him, which is why the Clippers extended him, there's a reason for that. If you don't remember, his extension was coming up or something like that, or he had maybe 2 years left. And supposedly the Lakers really, really wanted him. Why? Because, LeBron played with Ty Lue, won a championship with him. And I think other teams were trying to get Ty Lue, so the Clippers were like, nope, here's your, whatever it was, 4-year, $100 million extension. Whatever it was, they got it done as fast as they could because they knew they did not want him to leave. So if this team can stay healthy, if Kawhi can stay healthy, this team could really make a run. We saw what Kawhi did, I think it was last year. I'm losing track of time now. Last year against the Phoenix Suns, Paul George was out and he was playing. think that was last year, or maybe 2 years ago, whatever it was, Kawhi basically won the first game by himself against the Phoenix Suns, who were like the next team that was being crowned the NBA champions. Because they had, maybe this was 2 years ago, because maybe this is when they got Kevin Durant. So they had Kevin Durant and they had Devin Booker, who they were looked at as, a top tier duo. And then if this is 2 years ago, then they had Paul George. I mean, not Paul George, they had Chris Paul. And they had DeAndre Ayton. So that team was supposed to be really nice. Nobody was picking the Clippers to win that series. And guess what? Kawhi won the first game again, basically all by himself. Although I do think Norman Powell, if I remember correctly, had like a 20-point fourth quarter. So shout out to him because he put on a show. Maybe that was game 2 when Kawhi was already out. But regardless, Kawhi put on a show and everyone was like, oh, the Clippers might actually win this series without Paul George. But then we all know Kawhi got hurt and the rest is history, and the Suns won that series. But that's the whole point. When Kawhi is healthy, it's a completely different ballgame. So shout out to the Clippers because you need to start looking out for them.